Hello. My name is Ken Stevenson, and I think you're all waiting for pizza, so just relax. It'll be arriving.
See.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ken Stevenson. I'm president of the Congregation, and I welcome you. It's unusual in our meetings to have technical problems, maybe. So I want to welcome you here and call the meeting to order. I'm going to figure out how to share my screen the way I want. So is that showing? Yep. Okay. Step one of many. As I said, welcome, and I want to call the meeting to order. This is our annual congressional meeting, and We have an agenda which you may have picked up outside and a few other handouts. And members who wish to vote will need to have a ballot, and so you should have been checked off on entry. And so, to call the meeting to order, here's the agenda, by the way. I'm going to call the meeting to order, then we'll do nominations, budgets, and a couple motions. Then there'll be 10 minutes to cast ballots, and I'm sure the pizza will be here by then. And then we'll have reports and recognition. I'll announce the ballot results, and we'll close. So let me start by offering the pizza is truly on the way. I wasn't lying to you. So the covenant, this may sound familiar because Chris just observed that some of the simplest ways to express our willingness to work together in covenant is the one that appears in the RE wing. Show respect for all, be kind and fair, participate and encourage each other, share, listen, and take turns, include everyone, settle disagreements in peaceful, caring ways, take care of each other, our space, and our world, challenge racism and oppression wherever we find them. So I hope that we can all agree to that covenant. And so now we'll light the candle. Our first order of business is a recognition of the new world we're in, and so we're multi-platform. And so this motion means that those who are not here in person can be treated as though they were in terms of voting and participation. We'll expect to put this into the bylaws because we're going to be online forever, we imagine now, and so this will be endowed in the bylaws. So let me read that. We, the members of the Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church, vote to henceforth hold called congressional meetings simultaneously in person and virtually. All votes by members at such meetings will be valid, just as if we were all meeting in person in the church space. Our church is not the building itself, but the people of which it's made. And so I'd like to have a vote on this by a show of hands. All those in favor, say, raise hands. Yes. Any opposed or any abstentions? Thank you very much. Now we're going to talk about the things that you have to vote on today. And so we're going to start with the nominations by the Leadership Development Committee. It was listed as Melissa Reed, but she is unable to be here, and so A.B. Coleman will step up and introduce. And he's misplaced his sheet of paper. Oh, I'm sorry, I was going to talk about the minutes. So the minutes have been online, the minutes from the last meeting. And are there any corrections or comments on the minutes? Okay. Seeing none, I was going to vote by a raise of hands, but it ended up on the ballot, so I'll let you vote there on accepting the minutes. So AB, is that your sheet over there? Yeah, okay. AB Coleman.
Our chairman, Melissa Reed, her back went out last night. Can you hear me? The chairman, Melissa Reed, her back went out last night, so she's unable to do this, so you get me instead. I'd like for each of us, though, to wish Melissa a speedy recovery, and hopefully she's not in too much pain today. So I'd like to first start off by thanking the members of the committee that pulled together these nominations for you. The committee worked very hard. We interviewed people, and in some cases did a little bit of arm twisting. Came up with what we thought was a great slate of nominees. Most of the bios are listed on the sheet of paper you got, but unfortunately some did not, so I'll try to fill in the blanks. So the members of the committee were Melissa Reed, Chloe Waters, who was actually our main cheerleader and advocate for youth, Mark Mahandro, Seema Singh, myself, Eddie Chan, and Trevor Palmer, and Susan Kersey. So if any of you all are present, please stand. So the nominations are for President-elect Heather Kistner. Heather probably doesn't need any introduction as Heather volunteers for everything. She's too many things to list here. She's currently on the board of directors, and she's has been with TVUUC for a number of years. And last month she received the Volunteer of the Month award. Jeff Meller, who is going to nominate it for our board secretary. Now, Jeff is famous for his meticulous note-taking and minutes. And oh, by the way, that's why he's doing this now. So Jeff volunteered to continue keeping the minutes for the board in the coming year. The next nomination is Steve Drevick, sorry. I can read, but I can't pronounce. So Steve is a long congregant with TVUUC, and he's been active in several local nonprofits. He runs his own business where he has done all the accounting for his own business, which means he can probably do it for us. The next member is Roy Kersey for board member for 3 years. I think Sue probably has something to do with twisting Roy's arm to join the board. Roy is has his doctorate in psychology, and he practices mainly with middle class and poor constituents. The next member is Maddie Coppola. Denise always gives me a hard time about that. Maddie has been very active in RE for a number of years. As a matter of fact, she was the chairperson for the RE leadership team, which she's stepping down from to apply for the board. I have had lots of exposure with Maddie because of all the people getting involved in the technology task force and actually using the tools we're trying to provide. Maddie has been the most prolific. She actually wrote a manual. The next member for board member for 3 years is Bella Thomas Wilson. Bella grew up in the church, and she is going to be a young member. She's a current UT student, and she will be our representative for recruiting additional UT students. Oh, Well, I'm not sure they're all here, but, but I'll do that. Bella, is Bella here? All right, I'll go back. I'll go back to the ones I went through, and they can stand up. Heather.
I am here. Bella's here.
Okay. Jeff's there. Steve, I saw him earlier. Okay. Roy's back there. Maddie is here. And Bella is online, I assume? All right, now if I was sitting down there, I could highlight her, but I can't do that up here. So we'll highlight her later. Next is Denise Coleman for the Leadership Development Committee Chair-elect. Denise is past president of the Congregation, co-chair of the Strategic Planning Committee, member of the Personnel Committee, member of our leadership team, and she's been married to me for 45 years, so that attests to her fortitude. Next, for the Leadership Development Committee is Lynn Hickson. Lynn's been a member since 2015. He's been involved with the board of directors, and if you've been around the church, you will always see Lynn sitting at a table or working in the kitchen. He's been active in the membership committee, bringing on new members, in the program council. And I didn't realize this, but Lynn lives in Jefferson City, and that's where I was born and grew up. Lynn, are you here? Okay. Next is David Massey for the Endowment Committee. Who? Oh, how could I miss Kristen? Sorry. Yes, who I had to do a little arm twisting. Kristen McBee for the Leadership Development Committee. Most of you know Kristen because most recently she's been playing flute for the choir. She's also been involved in the church for a number of years. In fact, her and Ryan McBee, a former president of the committee, were married in the church. She's been part of volunteering for the RE program, Children's Diversity and Justice League, and she's also has a Bachelor's of Science in Engineering and a Master's in Information Sciences, which was particularly appealing to me. Then David. I don't know if I need to read David's resume. Everybody knows David. He's been on the Endowment Committee for how long now? 3 years. And the Finance Committee before that? Okay. So David has been a member since 1983. He's been very active in the church, and he too was a volunteer of the month recently. The next one is Taylor Thomas, the Endowment Committee. Taylor was actually, was he chairman of the Stewardship Committee? Chairman of the Stewardship Committee, and he's very active in at University of Tennessee in fundraising and bringing in new people. He was the director of alumni scholarships at the University of Tennessee, and he's been a member of TVUUC since 2017. Is Taylor here?
I'm online. I don't know if y'all can hear me.
We'll highlight you later.
Okay, yeah.
So those are your nominees. Are there any nominations from the floor? So the slate will stand.
Thank you very much, A.B. The next item, by the way, there's a single ballot that you'll be filling out as you see, and so we'll have a break for the balloting shortly, but the next item is the budget. And Bill Cherry is out of town, but he's the treasurer. But standing in for him is Eddie Chin. that showing right? I don't know where that poll comes from. That's. Pardon? Is that right now? Is the ballot still showing? I don't see the ballot. Okay. Do you see it?
No. But I'm blind, I can't see anything.
Well, you can help me vote. Just tell me what to do. I don't see the ballot anywhere, so. Is someone else sharing? Still a problem? I can't.
I smell pizza.
Okay, that's what we want to see.
We good? Got good news. There's pizza behind you. Looks like it's coming in. Like Ken said, Bill Cherry couldn't be here today, so he asked me to step in and go over the budget and some of his talking points. You should have been provided with a summary budget for your approval, either online or on the TVUUC website, or else you might have picked one up in the lobby on there. The summary budget is a condensed version of the detailed budget that Bill created to make it easier to follow. Claudia, did you say the detailed budget, there were some copies of the detailed budget somewhere?
I have detailed copies of the budget for anyone that would like to see all the line items.
Yeah, the detailed budget has every line item in a comparison to the current budget, and I guess you can get it available by request or running down Claudia. The proposed budget was developed by the Finance Committee along with input from the staff and the Personnel Committee. Historical data and recent actual income and expenses were reviewed and modified as appropriate. This proposed budget was submitted and approved by the board on its last meeting on May 7th. Now, looking at the budget revenue first, total giving is only $17,000 more than the current year's estimate, with pledges being mostly flat and non-pledge contributions being consistent with history before this current year, which is an outlier. While we're talking about pledges, just a reminder here, if you have not yet made a pledge for 23-24 and are able to do so, you can still do that. In fact, you can do so any time of the year, during the year. That also goes for if you're able and want to increase your pledge, you can do that at any time of the year. You can contact Ted Jones from the Stewardship Committee or go to TVUUC.org website. Other giving is driven by Sunday attendance, which we expect to be increasing with the COVID emergency ending, more people coming back to church, and a focus on increasing membership. Fundraising revenue is $21,000, more than the current year estimate, which is ambitious, but we felt like it was doable. Fundraising events other than the auction and rummage sale will be pursued, and a fundraising task force is being formed to create the structure for achieving this. The takeaway message from this is that the current fundraising events, while effective in the past, are not enough to meet our demands for the present or the future. We have to look for other opportunities and revenue streams. Gift card revenue will be driven by an aggressive campaign for all to use the Raise Right online gift card system. I read where Raise Right is supposedly the #1 fundraiser for nonprofit organizations across the U.S. Website claims over 750 national and regional brands to choose from, but more information will come later on that. With regard to expenses, the largest category by far are the salaries and other personnel expenses, which are increasing by about $60,000. This combined total is more than half of our budget. We put in an increase in the hourly wage for sextons and childcare workers to $15 an hour. Hopefully, it will make us more competitive in finding and retaining quality people. There was a 7% increase for most salaried positions. Unfortunately, this 7% increase is only 1/2 of the 14% recommended by the Personnel Committee. The 14% is only the amount necessary to catch up with the cost of living adjustments that we have not provided in recent years. I'm sure all of you would agree that our staff deserves more. We plan to review our financial position at mid-year to see if other adjustments can be made. The other expenditures are determined by history, contractual obligations, etc., and are pretty flat year to year with some few exceptions. The capital budget is pretty straightforward, with the money coming from the existing capital reserve fund, which I learned is unspent monies from several past years' budgets, and not from the annual operating fund. While the listed items on top of most everyone's wish list include parking lot resurfacing, HVAC replacement, office carpet, the final decision will come from the Building and Grounds Committee. That's pretty much it. Questions that we could try to answer? Beauvais?
Maybe this is a question that Ted can address in terms of the number of pledge units. I know our stewardship campaign basically yielded a flat in relation to last year, but I'm sorry. Okay. How will I do that? If we could get some information on the number of number of pledge units in the proposed budget compared to the current number of pledge units. I know that the income is projected basically to be flat, but a sense of the number of pledge units would be useful. Thanks.
Ted, do you have an answer to that?
Just off the top of my head, I would say that the pledge units for 23-24 are the same number as they've been before, basically. Our budget tends to be, our giving is roughly top-heavy. Like there's about 25 pledge members, pledge units that make up about half of our budget, most of them over the age of 60. But we got about the same number this year as we did last year, within 5 or so.
Any other questions? Greer?
I'd like to know how many pledge units. You know, I mean, is that, you know, relative to, I mean, I think a question is how many pledge units do we have relative to our membership? And I do have one other question.
Okay.
Is, the SBA loan, I'm sure I've just missed that somewhere. When did we take that out and for how much and what was it used for?
I know when you take it out, it says we have about $80K that has not been earmarked from the $149,000 loan. Also, we pay about $640 a month toward paying it.
Say that, I couldn't hear you, Eddie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Bill said we have about $80K left that has not been earmarked from the $149,900 original loan. We pay about $640 a month toward paying it.
Oh, it was a COVID loan? That's why I just didn't know.
Yeah.
I wondered. Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Oh, over there.
I just wondered, in this item under utilities, since we acquired our solar system during the past year, if there is or needs to be some item in there to assess the ongoing maintenance and assessment of what the solar is producing. I know Bill Dabbs was working on that, I think, at your request, Ken. And I just wonder if there's anything in there to that reflects.
Do you know the answer to that?
Yeah, we have a special fund earmarked for the panels. And so that's, it's from that fund that we paid off and bought the panels after several years of payments. And so they're ours, and there's, I believe, in the neighborhood of $7,000 in there to cover expenses. Okay. Yeah, many people may not know that we have solar panels because you can't see them from down here, but it's, I'd like to find out sometime how much it's contributed, how much it's saved us, because it was a real bold move, I think, to put those on. Regarding the SBA loan, Greer, I wanted to mention that I think in the neighborhood of $50,000 was used for the roof. We had to repair a portion of the roof in the front part of the building to avoid water damage and so on. And that loan we're paying, I don't know, something less than 3%. It's a great loan, and we can earn about 5% if we put that money in CDs until it's needed. So, any other questions about the budget that I can answer?
Don, yeah. To Greer's question, we had 203 pledge units for 23-24. Our membership varies depending on how active we call the rolls, but it's around 370, 380, 360, something like that. But we had 203 pledge units, which may be a family. That's why it might be less than the membership count, but 203.
Any other questions for Eddie or me on the budget? Yes, Elnora?
My question is, what will be some of the aggressive and creative ways of fundraising to bring in more funds to increase salaries and other needs that we have at this church?
Thank you. Yes, there's a fundraising task force which is forming a charter, writing a charter and so on, and forming a fundraising committee. And so we're open to ideas. You know, at some point in the past, there was no auction. There was no rummage. Somebody had the idea to do that, and it's really paid off. Now, our gift card table is still active, but it brings in about $5,000, where it used to bring in $25,000. So one of the main things we would like to propose is this Raise Right, which Eddie mentioned. I use the app. It's an app on your phone. I went into Home Depot No, I didn't go to Home Depot. I went to Lowe's because of political consideration. No, I went to Lowe's, and I had to step outside because I didn't have a signal inside, but I went in, got an e-card from Raise Right for just about the amount of money I needed, and it earned the church 4% with no expense. And so we're going to be pushing Raise Right. It's very easy to use. If you do use LL Bean, they give 14%. You know, so that means that you don't pay that 14%. They give us 14%, and you get the full amount that you ask for. So we'll be pushing that and try to recapture some of the money we've lost with the gift card table. But we're open to other ideas. You know, you want a horseshoe tournament. We have other ideas floating around, and when the fundraising committee is in place, we really look forward to people putting on their thinking caps and finding out what we might do. Any other questions on budget matters?
Yeah, I got one thing for Greer. Greer, Claudia just handed me this. She looked up the records, and from 22-23, we had 198 pledge units, and 23-24, we had 203 pledge units. Anything else? Okay. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. If I can get this to advance. So now we're going to cast ballots. So we're going to take 10 minutes. First, I'm not reading my own minutes. Yes, we have a motion to bring before the floor. And so I don't have a slide for you, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Hello, everybody. I'm David Massey. I'm chair of the Endowment Fund Committee. There is a motion before you to strike a paragraph that was contained in the charter that we adopted last year. The primary fiduciary responsibility of the TVUUC Endowment Fund is to safeguard the endowment fund and see to its growth over time with wise investments and ongoing contributions. It is also the committee's duty to see that donations to the fund benefit the congregation in the near term in the form of distributions for special projects that are beyond the reach of the operating budget. When the committee was working on substantial changes to the endowment fund charter last year, we, like everyone else in the equity and bond markets, were seeing substantial paper losses to the endowment portfolio. In fact, our unrealized losses for all of 2022 was over $100,000. Mindful of our fiduciary responsibilities, we wanted to be sure that distributions for projects did not outpace the growth of the fund. We feared that the traditional rolling average formula, which is also in the charter, might not suffice for this purpose. Therefore, we elected to include a new paragraph in the charter, adjustment for market declines, which is contained in Article 3, the section of the charter that imposes limitations on how much money can be distributed from the fund in any one year. Now that we have operated for one distribution cycle under this new charter, we realize this market cap is unnecessarily restrictive. For example, for projects and programs this year, we were able to distribute only $4,660 from the general sub-fund because of the market cap formula. Had we been free to utilize only the fair market value formula, along with our usual 4% draw, we would have set aside nearly $18,000 for projects and programs from the general sub-fund. We are confident that removing the market cap will not negatively impact our ability to safeguard the growth of the fund over time. You see the rationale in your paperwork. I'll just mention a couple of things. The market cap was, in fact, our invention. It's not a feature listed in best practices that we have seen for other endowment funds. The most universal approach for determining distributions is the one contained in our old charter and in the charter we adopted last year, the formula for recommended distributions located in Article 3. The market declines that we wanted to guard against with the market cap are actually embedded in this rolling average formula. So the severe drop in the market in 2022, because we go back 12 quarters and we average 12 quarters for the market, the market for each sub-fund, that will be reflected in our figuring through 2025. Unlike the market cap, the rolling average formula includes the impact of new donations. So market considerations, economic conditions will continue to impact our decision making. This is true not only because of the rolling average formula, but also because of the percentage that is applied against that rolling average. Traditionally, that's been 4%. The Endowment Fund Committee has the ability to reduce that. The Endowment Fund Committee can also exercise its discretion not to allocate the full amount, and the board has final say over how much can be distributed. It's for these reasons that the Endowment Fund Committee respectfully requests that the congregation approve this charter amendment, dropping the market cap formula. Are there any questions? Yes, John.
This is not related specifically to the proposed changes, but just a general curiosity, what is the current size of our endowment approximately?
I'm going to bring that up in the annual report here in a minute, but as of Friday, close of business, it was $780,000. Other questions? I might point out that just like last year, for this amendment to pass, it requires 2/3 of those voting in today's meeting. Other questions? Thank you very much.
We have a comment from Bill Fields.
Oh, okay.
Not necessarily for you, David, but just in general, before we vote, we need to confirm that there's a quorum and get that in the minutes, that we have a quorum before we do the voting.
What was that wording, Jeff? Yeah, I neglected to establish, is this working? I neglected to establish that there's a quorum, and so, what is that wording? Mutual consent? No. By unanimous consent? I move that we establish a quorum by unanimous consent. Is there any objection? It's the number of people you need to
Quorum isn't something we can decide we've got. The quorum is something we have to have before we can decide we've got it. Right? You know, the quorum is whatever is in our bylaws that says of active members that are here that vote, that are participating. And that would include the online members too. So we have to know that before
a quorum is
anything
50
we
people.
do is valid.
A quorum is 50 people by our bylaws, I believe. Can I declare a quorum? I declare a quorum. And I declare that the pizza is here. The ballots, there's a single page, and so please complete the ballots. And we have people who will collect the ballots, Wendy in the back, Mary in the other side. And so we'll take 10 minutes and enjoy the pizza and drinks, and we'll get back to business.
Dude, I'm not understanding what the fuck is happening.
Last chance. Are there any more ballots? We're going to start counting.
Cheese, mushroom, pepperoni, cheese. Oh, gluten rich. Yes, I do. All over the place. Every single thing is gluten rich. As are the cookies.
Hello again. I take a couple minutes to reconvene. During this time, my wife asked me to remind you that the gift card table is going to remain open because there are a lot of people who enjoy that and they have checkbooks. And so I'm happy to remind you of that. Also, I found with Ray's Right that there are some stores, like Food City, for example, that you can't get the coupons there. So we're still going to have the table. Steve? I don't have it right here, but it shows on our order of service, I think, and website. I also mentioned, since we have just a minute while people return, and on Ray's Right, I've hooked my bank account to it, a local bank, and so you don't pay credit card charges. You pay 15 cents for a transaction, and so you don't pay any of the credit card surcharges, which can be eating into your savings. So, okay, I think we're ready to start, and we have a number of reports. And first is David Massey with a report on the endowment fund.
Thank you, Ken. This annual report of the Endowment Fund Committee comes in two forms. The first is a two-page summary which has been distributed here in the sanctuary this morning. If you are joining us online and wish to see a copy of this report, please email me at endowtvuuc@gmail.com and I will send you a copy. The second part of this report are the actual financial statements for calendar year 2022 and the first quarter of 2023. Excuse me. Again, any member of the congregation can email endowtvuuc@gmail.com to receive a copy of these statements, and I'm available to respond to any questions or concerns you may have this morning, after this meeting, or in the days ahead. You can reach me directly at 865-621-8352. Now to the report. First, the full calendar year 2022. As of 12/31/2022, the fund's ending balance was $569,000 and change, down $107,000 and change from 12/31/2021. Donations total $14,285, down from $31,825 in calendar year 21 and $76,877 in calendar year 2020. The Vanguard account suffered an unrealized market loss of $122,000, offset, this is in calendar year 2022, offset by dividends totaling $14,644. During calendar year 2022, the fund provided $18,281 for 5 projects, including the lobby monitor set up by Beauvais Lyons and Ted Jones that scrolls photographs and videos of TVUUC members and activities. It's a great addition to the lobby. These projects also included the cameras and lighting needed to live stream this meeting and all Sunday services. For the first quarter of this year, January to March, donations to the endowment fund in the first quarter totaled $170,377, due in large part to gifts from Jamie Adcock and from the estate of Kim Haynes. Apart from donations, the fund has not recovered from the substantial losses suffered during 2022, well, partially. But during the first quarter, the Vanguard accounts did show an unrealized gain of $30,609 and income returns of $268. With the latest donations, the fund's ending balance was $770,775 at the end of March, compared to $638,511 a year earlier. Within the parameters imposed by the market cap provision in the endowment fund charter, the endowment fund committee allocated up to $7,075 for 3 projects in 2023: a community garden water system, work tables for the community garden, and primarily it goes to facilitator training for the Our Whole Lives sexuality education program. As of close of business Friday, total assets have reached a high water mark of $781,386, more than double the $375,000 that was in the fund in early 2020. Again, the gain since December is due in part to the market clawing its way back from the debacle of 2022, but mainly because of the 2 large gifts previously mentioned. But in fact, all gifts are important and have an incremental benefit to the growth of the fund and to our ability to support special projects. As Marianne von Beck says, every little bit helps and many little bits add up to a lot. Thank you to everyone who has made these gifts to the fund and who have included the fund in your wills. I also want to mention that members and friends who donate to the endowment fund can honor someone they admire or memorialize someone who has passed on. Those memorialized by endowment fund gifts in 2022 were Chris Brown, Dwayne Chafee, George Cooper, Bobby DeRitter, Kim Haynes, Larry Kitchen, and Bob Palmer. Finally, I will say that as chair of the Endowment Fund Committee, I am privileged to represent an absolutely fantastic and dedicated group of folks who serve as stewards of your generous donations to the TVUUC Endowment Fund. And I'm going to ask you to stand if you're here. Gail Anderson, Joy Fells, Maureen McBride, Robbie McMurray, Greer Novinger, Stephanie C., and Bill Cherry and Linda Randolph are ex officio members. So, Endowment Committee, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I want to also just give a big shout out to Gail, who's ending her 3-year term this month. And we wish her the best in her rehab, and she's been a fantastic member of our committee, and we're going to miss her. Thanks. Oh, are there questions? Okay, if you got something occurs later or in the week or whatever, please give us a call. Thank you.
I have a question. Is there going to be a project cycle this year?
Yeah, so the committee last year set up a new project cycle so that when endowment month rolls around in October, you will already have seen a request for proposals for projects and programs for calendar year 2024. Those decisions will be made by the committee in January of 24, approved by the board, the following board meeting, and then the money will be available to the funded projects at that point. So we're on a calendar year basis for a project funding.
Thank you very much, David. Any questions? Okay. Now there's a report from Mark Mahundro from the 8th Principal Task Force. Oops.
Do I make it a form?
You just need to press that.
Okay. Good afternoon. Just want to repeat what the 8th principle is. something we adopted a couple of years ago. Journeying toward spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. Just want to talk real quick about some of the things that the 8th Principal Task Force helped facilitate in the year 2022 through 2023. There's the dedication of the Alandria Williams Room, the September 4th service on ableism and disability justice that we asked Rob Spirko to come and do. We helped with the October 16th Diwali service. And then we had, one of the biggest things we had was the February 25th workshop, Abundant Love and the 8th Principle of Unitarian Universalism, where we brought in Reverend Duncan Teague. A lot of you attended that. It was really, really powerful. And then the next day, we brought in Duncan to do a sermon at the boundaries of our love and faith. So coming up for the 8th Principle, some of the things that we are looking at doing in the fall and spring and beyond. First up would be the UUA's Common Read for this year, which is called Mistakes and Miracles, Congregations on the Road to Multiculturalism. And the Common Read, they select a book, and the Common Read builds community in our congregations and our movement by giving diverse people a shared focus for reflection and action. A Common Read can take us on a powerful faith journey into what it means to be human and accountable in a world filled with both pain and joy. Mistakes and Miracles shares how 5 diverse Unitarian Universalist congregations encountered frustrations and disappointments, as well as hope and wonder, once they committed to the journey to create multicultural, anti-racist, beloved community. Today, Unitarian Universalists are grappling with the charge to dismantle white supremacy in ourselves, our communities, and our world. As we enter a common read of this book, many will bring a spirit ready to meet the urgent needs for multiculturalism and anti-racism work in our congregation and our movement. That's looking to be launched sometime in September, but we still are working on logistics. The other thing that we're looking to launch in the fall is a 6-session online course, Transgender Inclusion in Congregations. This course is for individuals and groups who want to take their knowledge and skills to the next level in terms of trans identity and how to create congregations that are fully inclusive and affirming of the full breadth of gender diversity. This is a wonderful series. It's good. It models what total inclusion and welcoming could be for a congregation. And then over the 6 sessions, they deeply explore the intersection of trans identity, spirituality, and faith community, and gain the grounding context and skills to transform ourselves and our congregations. If you are interested in any of those, taking any of those, that'll be September probably is when we're looking at launching that as well. Love to talk with you about it afterwards. And just a reminder that the 8th Principle is dismantling racism, but it is also all systems of oppression. That is one, I mean, with what's going on with the trans community, the LGBT community, women here in the state of Tennessee, that is all oppression that's going on, and that is what we need to stand up against. And lastly, well, almost lastly, these are some other things. We do not have any specific date that these will happen, but these are things that we are looking at doing in the future. A field trip to Cherokee, North Carolina, field trip to the Legacy Museum from enslavement to mass incarceration in Montgomery, Alabama. More speakers, more services, and more justice. And to close, I just want to recognize, I'm the chair of the 8th Principal Task Force. I don't even think I said that. But I want to recognize our members. You don't have to stand, but those members are Elnora Williams, Chloe Aroldi Waters, Patsy Farmer, Eddie Chin, Seema Singh, Mary Rogi. I appreciate all your help over the years and look forward to continuing working with you. And also, I would like to thank Ken Stevenson and the rest of the board for their support for what we've done. I'd like to thank David Massey and the rest of the Endowment Fund Committee for approving the proposal to bring in Reverend Duncan Teague. And finally, I'd like to recognize Reverend Chris Bice and Catherine Farmer-Loya for all their support. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, Mark. I skipped a slide, and so I'm going to go back here. There are some positions which the nominating committee, the Leadership Development Committee now, puts forward, but they're appointed by the board. And so Personnel Committee, Doug Cox has been appointed as chair of the Personnel Committee. The Program Council, we're going to be changing that a little, so I think the next time we redo the bylaws, we'll have co-chairs. It's a big job, and I commend the Program Council for their hard work. In fact, so just by chance, we have Barbara and Betty here to talk a little about the Program Council. And so if you'd like to come up now. Here's what they're seeing.
Oh. So we're both going to talk, both of us. So can you hear me? Yes? Okay, he's right. The Program Council co-chairs do a lot of work. If you remember last year, we had been sort of absent for a long time. There were years missing. And we finally came back together, and we came together joyously in October. Does anyone remember the homecoming potluck? Yes! Yay! I think that kind of started us all off. So that's one thing that the Program Council was involved in. Since that time, we've been meeting regularly. We meet the first Monday of every month. Anyone is welcome to come. Betty and I are going to trade off back and forth with talking about some things. Go, Betty.
Okay. We organized the clusters and programs into what we thought was a more manageable system. Some of the clusters were very large and unwieldy, and some of the clusters were very small, and so we looked at it and we tried to make the clusters such that cluster chairs could do their jobs more effectively. We have 47 programs right now. It's grown a lot, and we are about to add 3 more, so that would be 50. Anyway.
And we have 12 clusters. Yes, that is a lot of work. Where's my next number? Oh, we have approved and helped 3 new programs already. Those are Let's Connect, the new TVUUC Garden Club, and the new Nature Exploration Program. And you may or may not know, the Program Council is given money every year to provide grants to new programs to help them get started. So with that funding, we were able to provide funding for Let's Connect to get them started. What a great group. And money to the new garden club that had its first meeting last Saturday, Saturday before, whenever, recently. And the new Nature Exploration Program is going to be a terrific program. Look for that one coming on board real soon.
Okay, I forgot to mention that in the process of reorganizing the clusters and programs, we did revise some charters that needed updating, and we have more of that work to do. At that lunch, we mentioned the 2023's first Sunday potluck. We did have a volunteer fair where all the programs were represented in hopes at adding volunteers to their work.
And that first Sunday lunch was a big kickoff for this whole year, where programs and clusters are sponsoring the lunch. And now we need a couple more people. We have a couple of months that do not have a sponsor. So if you're a member of a group or cluster, you need to be talking. We don't want that program to stop because we can't find someone to sponsor a lunch.
Okay, and the Program Council supported refurbishment of the Linda Krieger Library. In addition to making the room look a little more hospitable in terms of painting it and buying curtains, that sort of thing, we have worked diligently to process and shelve many donations of books. We had, for years, books had been stacking up, especially during the pandemic. There were maybe 6 or 7 good-sized boxes, and then we had 4 boxes donated by a previous member, and we'll be caught up with the actual shelving of the books in a few weeks. And that's the important part of the library, is giving UUs an opportunity to check out books that will improve their knowledge of religion and racism and that sort of thing. And while I'm talking about that, I want to thank the Alliance paid for half of the painting of the room, and then the labor, the church paid for the paint. And then I also want to thank the Alliance for $300 we have in an account to purchase books during the next year. And specifically, we're going to buy books such that if Chris has a book group that studies a particular book, sometimes you've had a group that would meet once a week and read a book, then we'll buy copies of that for the library so people wouldn't have to purchase it. And so we'll be buying things like that throughout the year and let you know. Plus, we'll have an open house in the fall.
Where's AB? I'm working with AB on trying to get a portion of the new website where you can find out what's going on in programs, all 50 programs. So all of that will be on the website. And will you raise your hand if you're a member of a program? Any program. Any program. Oh my goodness. Lots of people. It takes lots of volunteers to make this church work. And the last thing it says on my list, besides sit, it says publish 2 programs guide. So I published the first program guide, and the second program guide was supposed to be ready today, but we've had a malfunction with a printer. So it will be ready next week. Thank you much, everybody.
Thank you very much, Program Council. And also thank you to Let's Connect. That's Casey Clark and Betty Kidd. Thank you very much. I want to put an opportunity here for people to raise any questions they may have or comments. Yes, just a second. Let's find a microphone. Here it comes. Oh. Oh.
Hi. I was wondering if there was a reason that the RE program wasn't asked or able to give a report along with these other reports from committees and teams.
I'm sorry. Do you have a report?
No, I was, I would imagine that the RE staff, with it being such a big program
I'm sorry.
at the church, would have been included.
I didn't mean to omit anyone. That's entirely on me.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I have to say our RE program is really something. I was around when they were doing the tie-dye this past week and visiting the garden, and what a beautiful group of kids. And it looked like a lot of fun, Too late for me for tie-dye, but I'll maybe be able to help sometime. So my apologies for not including the RE more formally. Are there other comments or questions? Okay, I'd like to move then to recognitions. We do this together, and that's evident from many of the speakers here, from the Endowment Fund to the Program Council to Let's Connect to the RE program. We do this. It's not done for us. And so we need to recognize some of the people that really pour their hearts into various activities here. And I'm not going to be naming names because I'm always afraid I'm going to forget someone, as I did. So I wanted to mention, though, in case you're looking for something to do, we have committees and task forces. There's Buildings and Grounds, Strategic Planning, Personnel Committee, Finance Committee, Leadership Development, Endowment Fund, Stewardship. There are task forces, Technology Task Force, Eighth Principle, Reproductive Justice, Fundraising Task Force, COVID Task Force, now blessedly sunset. And there's going to be the fundraising, I mentioned fundraising task force coming up. So I want to recognize all the people that put so much work into those things. And so thank you, all those folks. I want to recognize the outgoing board members. Ryan McBee is at the beach, so that's Linda Randolph, Wendy Sires, and Alice Woody. Thank you very much for your service on the board. Thanks also to our minister and staff. Reverend Chris Bice is back there. And to recognize Claudia Presley, Catherine Loya, Miriam Davis, David Asbury, Michael Miller, Mark Mahundro, and John Montgomery. Let's thank all of them. Now I am awaiting the results of the election. Has the ballot counting completed? Tension. Maybe as a mathematician I should have been back there helping. There's more pizza. So a pause here while we wait the counting.
When they painted the library, was there a kerfuffle over the paint color?
Actually, it was a very smooth process. The art committee was so sweet, and we met, talked about it, and let's see, who else was involved? Oh, Building and Grounds, and then I think I sent Beauvais a couple of colors, and he picked one. So I want to thank them for being so gracious and everything.
Well, just wait.
So I don't know if, since we're waiting on time and it was brought up earlier, I don't know if I can actually make a motion because I'm not a voting member because of my affiliation status with the congregation or whatever, but I just wonder if it would not be too much trouble for the RE program going forward. Could we commit as a congregation to make it an intentional and formal part of the annual congregational meeting to give a presentation on RE? Cool. I just mean like as part of the congregational meeting. I just think, you know, that people get tied up in planning and things get left off, and it's not intentional, but
Yeah.
going forward, I think it would be good if we
I
could just
understand.
have that.
And there's a question here about a possibility of having a more firm board representation for RE, and I think that's perfectly appropriate, and I'm sure that the new board will look into that.
I appreciate John's suggestion. Because the issue came up today where there were questions about the stewardship campaign, it would also be good to have a standing report at congregational meetings regarding more about the stewardship campaign, number of pledge units, some analysis of pledge levels and things like that. Because I think that's clearly what our proposed budget is built around significantly. So if that's also a standing part of congregational meetings in terms of when the budget's presented with more information on that campaign.
Yes,
Friendly
thank you.
suggestion.
Thank you, Bouvet. Well, let's take 5 minutes.
Lots of pizza left.
Okay, let us reconvene. Okay, the results are in. There was a total of 102 ballots, including online votes ahead of time. And so on the congregational meeting minutes, 99 yeses and 3 noes. All the candidates were approved overwhelmingly. Approval of the budget was 101 to 1. And approval of the amendment to the endowment fund charter was 100 to 2. 100 yes and 2 no. So that's the results. And so let's give a hand for the new officers, board members, etc. And since we're running out of time anyway, let's move to the closing. And I want to start by giving a personal thank you to all the people that supported me. It's been an honor, a privilege, being your president. Thank you very much. I'd like to recognize in particular Ryan McBee, your previous president. He was really so helpful, and he's done so much for the congregation and continues. And also personal thanks to Chris Bice. So thank you, Chris. And now it's my honor to turn the gavel. I don't have a gavel. Where's my gavel? To our new president, Eddie Chin.
I know all of you have been here quite a while and would like to get home soon. I have just a few words to say, and I promise to keep it under 20 minutes. First of all, I want to thank the congregation for the enormous honor of installing me as the next president of Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm not sure I've ever felt a greater weight of responsibility, but neither have I felt more supported. My thanks to people across the church whose advice has been enormously helpful, not the least of the former presidents of this church who I learned from during my 3 years as a board member at large. First, Denise Coleman, then Matthew Blondell, followed by Ryan McBee. Your example of excellence will never be lost on me. And this last year, as your president-elect, had the good fortune to be mentored by Ken Stevenson. He taught me everything I needed to know. I'm only saying that because if something goes wrong, I could blame it on him. All kidding aside, you won't find many people that are as dedicated to the health and well-being of this church as Ken. So Ken, thank you very much for all you do. I am so looking forward to moving ahead into the future together with all of you in our church and our beloved community. With that said, I declare that the 2023 Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church Congregational meeting is adjourned. Thank you.